diabetes, causes sinusitis, which is a disease in my territory. I was not taught by an ENT surgeon. It is when I attended a meeting of diabetologists that I learned that metformin is going to give people sinusitis. But it was not told to me by an ENT surgeon. The first time I learned the right way to request for a CT scan of the paranasal sinuses, it was not taught to me by an ENT surgeon. I learned it from a meeting of orthopedic surgeons. That's when I learned from an Indian that when you are requesting for a CT scan for the sinuses, ask for 2 millimeter slices, not larger than that. So we stand a lot to benefit. This is just to emphasize. Let's get together. Let's stop doing things in isolation. There are lots of benefits. Now, as I wind up, if you're asking where to domicile this secretariat, what better place than UMA, which already has offices? And mark you, UMA has already made big steps. UMA has already provided for all these professional associations to be part of it. It has been budgeting for them. In 2015, we designed an architectural plan. We were thinking of building a home. We even requested the president, and in principle, he actually okayed it. I remember when he came to our dinner, we even showed it. There is already an architectural plan for a home which provides for all professional associations to be under the same premises. So you do not have to have a secretary that you pay. You do not have to have a gate man that you pay. AUGU has a home, they have to pay gate man, they have to pay secretary. The same gate man, the same secretary would save money if we are all under one roof. So some of this work has already been done. And if you want people who can feed more ideas into this dream of having a summit and bringing all professional associations on board, please contact Dr. Richard Idro, Professor Richard Idro. He was then my chair for, I think, continuing medical education and did a lot of work. And I will also tell you that the Ministry of Health is already behind a move where all professional medical associations work together. Because around that time, the current Minister of Health, when she was Director General of Health Services, we would organize conferences and we ran her to point us to funders and ask the ministry to fund us. It was the same question they would tell us. You people, actually they used to tell us, you people in UMA have a problem. Your conferences come late. By the time you come to us, AUGU has been here in February. Asou has been here in May. So by the time you come, we have already depleted resources. So in a way they were indirectly telling us, why don't you do things as one family together so that it is easier for us to support you as a bigger group as opposed to smaller groups coming individually. So we're on right track. Let's make sure that we bring as many stakeholders on board and emphasize the point of leadership growth. Every association requires to have would desire to have their leaders, either current or future leaders, trained. So this is one of those unifying, call it, what can I call it? Flagship projects that will help to draw other associations on board. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fred. Dr. Fred always has very wise ideas. I think he had a lot to tell us. Melon and team, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have already delved into the gist of the matter. I will update you as we move along. So, thank you, Dr. Fred. Actually, there are many ideas I picked up. I hope members will either agree or disagree. I didn't know you budget for sister associations in UMA. Why didn't you tell us? Or it is us who didn't come to ask. I didn't know. Dr. Eddie, did you know? You knew, and you didn't tell me. So then he talked of a very pertinent issue. When do the AGMs fall in the same time for the different associations, so that this is end of May, so that we can say that every end of May or every June we do the summit for the new leaders in all the associations. But I don't know if AGMs coincide or they fall in the same time. Many ideas he talked about that personally I knew some, but I didn't know others. But I think we know why. Any other, because we were brainstorming before I give you the outcomes and the conclusion. Yes, Dr. Musana. The mic, where's yours? You had one. Who took Dr. Musana's microphone?
Thank you, Dr.
Chigonya.
Chigonya.
Yes.
Yes. There are a few issues I would like to speak to, because one, you spoke about trying to clarify on a vision. On a vision. I have been a past president for the AOGU, and in my time as a president, of course, you heard of the NASMEC and the local maternity networks and things like that. At some point, because now this is no longer confidential, at some point we tried something like this. We even offered money to the associations, and they said, hell no. Because we had a big program and we had money to spend, and people refused. So what then that tagged us to was now to look and see if there is a legal framework, because sometimes we may want these voluntary things, if there is a legal framework where we can position leadership for the associations. Now in Uganda, by law, of course it is still thought of as voluntary, but by law, all doctors are supposed to be members of either the Uganda Medical Association, it's in the law, or the Uganda Private Medical Practitioners Association. The challenge, we have weak frameworks at the council and also weak frameworks at the UMA. So I should not be able to register unless I'm in good standing with the UMA. The UMA, of course, has set up the NGC, I think of the NGC, National Governing Council. But of course, because of our weak leadership over time, we have failed to galvanize the associations. And there are issues now I would like to bring to the front. For the UMA, they are dealing with professionalism and welfare. The associations, we deal more with our small issues, like AOG was dealing with guidelines, training in our areas of expertise. However, one of the challenges we found was we could not deal with the welfare issue or the issue of professionalism because we do not have the legal mandate. But UMA has that legal mandate. And I wanted to think that maybe we need to actively engage or push, because the NGC has all the leaders here. I know all of you sit on NGC. But nobody is putting pressure to actually deliver, for the committees to deliver on the leadership mandate. So number two, what do you actually want? You want a summit, you want a secretariat, and what is the output of those things? Because as Dr. Biso was speaking, I was thinking, many of our leaders, we just push them into leadership. Who wants to stand? Nobody. So we push in, Dr. Nabu Kenya, you go. And the output, of course, will be bad. Now, this then, sorry, but just an example. So this leadership issue is a very important issue. where we purposefully groom leaders. There are so many, but we groom those leaders to get there. So Asou, I'm sure, has their pool. AOG should have their pool. UMA should have their pool. So what is the actual thing that you want? Because summits are far in between, but we want an operational thing that keeps moving, whereby we have an output of, say, we have leaders in this area, we have an agenda. One of the challenges, I think, is convincing the ENTs is there's no linking agenda. So I am still looking there and saying, okay, what is innovative that will bring us together?
Thank you, Dr. Musana. I think that is another pertinent issue, or he has touched a number of things. Like I said in the beginning, we want to move from the summit to something operational. And that's why we said, let's start, let's be guided, let's get the training and see. You mentioned something about the membership. We also used to discuss it a lot in Asou. We used to wonder, everyone is supposed to be a member. At one point we said, why don't we tell UMDPC, before someone registers as an obstetrician, they present their membership to AOGU. So they have actually subscribed and they're a member of AOGU. Now they are getting a license of AOGU. I mean of OBGY. At one point we actually also discussed it. So because it will now bring increased, because there are many members out there who are not even bothered. They are not bothered at all. And guidelines, and you know we are struggling with guidelines in our setting. Is it the association to push this? And that is a lot of work. I know Miss Julie is always struggling with guidelines of trauma, head injury, just in casualty. Did you follow this order? You get, just in one setting. How about in the whole country? So who controls training? Is it AAU? Is it UMDPC? What does AAU contribute? Now, as leaders, we storm UMDPC as a group of leaders from all these areas and say, you know what, this thing must work. So it becomes easier than AOGU going first, then the pathologists appear. It is very easy to ignore you when you're coming. One person at a time, they're like, no, that's not your area. No, that's not your area. Okay.
Maybe what
you wanted to comment on that?
Just to comment. Of course, doctors, we know a lot of medicine, but we never read the non-technical things. And that's where I'm coming from. It is by law that we're supposed to be members of the UMA. It is by law. The challenge has been we've engaged for example, this is just basics. We've engaged the council. The council says, but UMA doesn't know what they want. Yet UMA at the highest level of decision making is on the council, and every member is from the UMA. So the council is for the doctors. The doctors are all in the UMA. But when they are there discussing, they do not discuss things that will promote leadership and other things. So for example, AOGU has no legal mandate to say subscribe and people should be members. But UMA has the legal mandate. The challenge now, again, as you rightly put here, our leadership thinks of small things and they are fighting over small things. So I think we need to, that's my opinion, we need to push the UMA to do what they're supposed to do. And the presidents of these associations must have a clear, what did I say, documentation or MOU, whatever, with the UMA, because we are the doctors. And then we have an agenda of training leaders in practice, because some of our colleagues don't have no interest in non-technical things. We have a role to train our leaders in either public health and advocacy, and that's all leaders, and also in education, which is our mandate across the profession. Now, when I was asking what can be innovative, because I think the surgeons from time immemorial have been bullies, and they even call themselves Mister, not in a bad way, but they're generally assertive people. So even assertiveness is an innovation to move an agenda forward. So if we can design some of our local innovations to move an agenda, the query is that many of our leaders do not have an agenda, we've just pushed them there. So can it be an agenda or an innovation, like you have brought this summit today? This is a very good thing, by the way. I think the first of its kind. Can there be an innovation to really infuse this to our leadership in the sector?
Thank you. So all those are food for thought. It is mid-morning, and there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about. So thank you, Dr. Musana. These ideas I'm putting down, and we are going to discuss further. I don't know if there's any other idea I want to give us to conclude with what we call the outcomes of this strategic plan. Melon is here with her team. They are very ready. If you look at your program where you see Uganda Convention Bureau, this is the team. I'll ask Dr. Christine to introduce them before we start, but let me just conclude. Yes, Mr. Miro, you had something? Yes, you can tell me your idea and I put it down. Good morning. Thank you, Miro. I think we all agree. He's right. I actually apologize on behalf of all these surgeons and anesthesia people. They are very selfish. But from today onwards, they will change. But you are right. That's why we invited you actually today. And Dr. Fiona will agree with me. They struggle with the samples. They are not labeled. They are not. You remove a tumor, you slice it, you disorganize the features. Then she's struggling to give you a diagnosis. And I was telling people at the conference that surgeons don't want to be told how to remove the biopsy or how many lymph nodes. Now the pathologist is going to give you a report. You start quarreling with the pathologist. Actually, you don't quarrel with the pathologist. You quarrel with the report, but referring to the pathologist. You get. I call Dr. Crescent many times and tell him, you sent me this report, but the report and the conclusion don't agree. Then he's like, sorry, I think then things are ironed out. You get. So we should be one team to achieve all this, and I think this should be the start. So just to conclude about this strategic plan we are having or we are planning to have, Dr. Musana was asking about the output. I called it outcome, or we called it outcome. And we want a medical professional association leaders summit that is professionally governed, strategically positioned, financially sustainable, and operationally well coordinated. And we believe that this will be able to evolve into one, Uganda's flagship healthcare leadership platform, two, a regional professional influence hub, three, a healthcare innovational marketplace, and four, a national respected institutional ecosystem to drive excellence, sustainability, and transformation within the health section. So, you can see that there's a lot to discuss. This is just the beginning. And it is until now that I noticed that we gave this discussion very little time. Have you ever gone for an I&D and you tell your colleague that, don't worry, I'll be back in 10 minutes. It is just I&D. Before the I&D starts, Dr. Janet tells you, have you seen this HB? You actually don't notice that the person is very septic with a big abscess and HB of 4. Then you told people that the I&D is going to take 5 minutes. You go flagging, I'm coming. So, thank you very much for your attention. Dr. Christine. Miss Juliet. Should I continue saying Miss Juliet, Miss Christine, or I switch to Dr. Musana's style of Dr. Juliet? NA is okay. NA is okay. Dr. Christine, I want you to introduce these people because they are next, and I can see they are really excited from Melon to the end. They can't wait. So thank you. The next session is going to be interactive, isn't it? To take us through some of these practical ways we can do this thing.
Yes, good morning once again. Welcome to everyone who join us later in the sessions. We are really happy to host you today. Because of time, I will just go straight into it. I want to welcome the UCB team and the Events Academy Africa. We are really excited to have you. We know you have amazing things for us. So I'll start with Miss Melon. Miss Melon is the Senior Marketing Officer at the MICE, Uganda Tourism Board. If any of us knows what MICE is, we might think she chases rats, but no. Yeah, so this is the meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. And I think because we need some strength there, that's why we have these people on board to tell us more about that and how our associations can grow in that as well, but also with the financial association management, fundraising, and growing our memberships. She's had quite an interesting career. She has strong expertise as a qualified tourism professional, bringing extensive knowledge and experience to a dynamic realm of MICE, are committed to excellence and has been instrumental in contributing to the growth and prominence of Uganda's MICE sector. I think you all see the growing conferences we are having in the region. They don't just deal with medical professionals. We are just privileged to borrow them today. They deal with all the different sectors. And this was a way to bridge tourism, the traditional tourism we are used to, of going on a holiday somewhere and then using conferences as a means of tourism to boost Uganda's economy. She'll tell us more about that, but at the Convention Bureau, she focuses on orchestrating strategies that showcase Uganda's immense potential within the global MICE landscape, from attracting international conferences to fostering impactful business events. She's dedicated to steering Uganda towards greater international recognition in the MICE industry. We have most of their profiles in the book. I think you'll read them. I won't read them much. We also have Mr. Frank. This one is the money man, so he will be sharing something as well. We have Zelda and Gwen. Zelda and Gwen are from Events Academy Africa, but today we are having them because they are being hosted by the UCB team. We met last year and we had quite some interesting interactions and learning. I know they have amazing things for us, and Melon will introduce them. Miss Melon, you're welcome.
Good morning, doctors. I think you're all doctors. Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. Yes, as I introduced, my name is Melon Tukikiriza. I actually work with Uganda Tourism Board. But because the country is now trying to look at tourism as an economic engine, so we are diversifying from the original or the traditional tourism that we all know, people going for vacation. So we are diversifying the product, also including attracting and hosting of, we call them business events, meetings, incentives, conferences, events, and exhibitions. But what I want to talk about here is the C of MICE, which is conference or conventions. I want to see how many people here have gone to some countries to attend a conference. All of you. Now those, if you're 60 people, now those are 60 conferences that we can actually attract through you. Just to simplify what I want to talk about, those are just 60 conferences that can come here. That's what we have come to talk about. How do we attract these conferences? We work with the professional and trade associations like you. Because if there is a conference about surgeons, for instance, International Association of Surgeons, I know nothing about that sector. But now it's you to tell me that there's actually this conference as an association we can host here in Uganda. And there are so many benefits. If you actually host such an event, it will empower the association in addition to contributing to the GDP of the country, but it will empower the association. So that's how we are championing the MICE, how we can attract the business events through working with the trade and professional associations. So we have had a couple of trainings for different associations. That's where we met Christine. And we have had a number of engagements. So I had made a presentation, but I'm not going to make it because I called my colleagues. We are hosting what we call Part of Africa Tourism Expo. Yesterday, those on TV who could have watched the news, you saw the president opening the Part of Africa Tourism Expo at Munyonyo. And as part of the 3 days program, we have seminar sessions, and we had a MICE session. And the people I have come with, there are people that were facilitating the MICE session. One is coming from Rwanda, he will introduce himself. Another one is coming from South Africa. The two are coming from South Africa. So we requested them, since they are experts, especially in association management, empowering associations, how associations can grow, talking about things of governance, how you can have, you can manage your finances. I said, let me bring the experts. We shall talk about the MICE business later. But what I want to talk about is that all those conferences you have gone to, they don't just go to those destinations. Destinations bid for them. And for us as the Convention Bureau, what we do, the Convention Bureau is a division within Uganda Tourism Board that focuses on marketing the destinations for those business events. Then we also have another section that does leisure tourism. So when we talk about a Convention Bureau, you may think it's like an institution. But when you go to other countries that have mature maize sector, you find a conversion bureau is actually a fully fledged institution like UTB. Give an example of our neighbors, Rwanda. Rwanda Conversion Bureau is a fully fledged institution that promotes maize. But for now, within Uganda, we sit under Uganda Tourism Board. So I just want to urge you that those conferences you have attended, or you're yet to attend, you're going to hear about, please contact us. We work with you. We do competitive bidding. We work with you the journey from the time you contact that client until the time we host. We do together bidding. We help you to compile a competitive bid. When the destination is shortlisted, we host these clients on site inspection with our funds, by the way. Yes. When the event, sometimes when they say maybe they want to give you hosting rights, we facilitate you. You go to wherever that version of the conference is to receive hosting rights. We work with you. We make sure we get those hosting rights. Even during the hosting of the event, we work with you and the line ministry to lobby for funds, to make sure also government comes on board and funds this conference. We do what we call the cost-benefit analysis to make sure as government puts in money, there is also economic impact. So we walk the journey with you from the start. Don't just say, oh, we don't have capacity. We are here, we shall work with you. We have the capacity. It will empower the association. That's what this team is going to talk about, but it will also contribute to the socio-economic impact of this country. So with those many words, allow me, I introduce the second speaker, who is Mr. Frank Gisha. He's going to talk about himself, what he does, and then he has a package for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Melon. Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to say everyone, because I don't want to I learned that some of you are not doctors, but you're all into the health sector, I believe. At least I know I came in when Dr. Fred was speaking. The names that I managed to cram, and Dr. Mosana and a few others. I know those ones are doctors, but the others I would say everyone. So, well, my name is Frank Gisha, and okay. So, thank you. I have a few minutes, and yeah, I think I've been introduced. I've worked into the mice industry for almost 10 years, and I've been blessed to work in Rwanda, and currently I am the CEO of the East Africa Tourism Platform. So mice, what my colleague Marin has been talking about, it's part of tourism. They all involve bringing in guests, they eat our food, they sleep in our hotels. But beyond that, there is a push of professionals like you, whereby our discussion today will be looking at professional bodies, their role, and what they can do. She gave an example when asking who have attended to conferences in your sector, and most of you were raising hands. And I believe 7 years ago, when I was going to talk to some medics in Rwanda, we initiated something called Bring It Home. So my subsidiary question to her would be, who has ever approached these conference organizers to the various countries where we get to, and you're like, yeah, can you consider Uganda as, you know, the best host for this event? That's a food for thought. I don't want to say that me or I've done that or not, but it can be something well noted. Well, regarding associations and the power of mice, it's not only supporting the tourism sector of Uganda or any respective country. It's all about making your association strong, to stand a competitive position, then bring that event here. Actually, for us as tourism, I'm a tourism economist, but for us as tourism economists, we go beyond that, and look at the knowledge sharing and the exchange and other opportunities that convening can bring to your association and to your profession in terms of knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange, but also the investments. I don't do your surgeons with the, however manual it would be, but you use gadgets and devices. And have you ever thought that if really our association is strong, and let it be gloves, leave alone the blades and others, if we really bring it here and we bring like expert surgeons globally, can we really leave a legacy of either having our surgeons in Mulago or wherever in Gulu get trained, and at least they run that knowledge exchange? That's where, that's what I was referring to. But beyond that, I have a task which is challenging. According to the modules for the international, the American associations, where really of professionals, I think you cannot preach or teach or talk. It's just hints on a financial management in just a few minutes. So what I'm going to get through you to, by the way, after all, before you get to the financial management or fundraising or the projects, what finances do you have in your coffers to manage before going, oh, we are doing it well? So do you have, how much do you have? So, so beyond that, that opens us to how do we get there? Of course, most of us, I think I should have started with this question. How many of us have been into board meetings? I've been lucky in Rwanda. I've worked a lot with the opticians to bring these events, and the FIGO. Some of you know FIGO for the gynecologist and the OB. There is this interesting abbreviation I learned, OBGN, something like that. Yeah, so I was working with the associations to bring those bigger meetings. And the COEX and COSEXA, I saw on the agenda sometime during the day will be into that. But before that, would like the very first board meeting, they'll ask you, yeah, by the way, have you noticed that our membership is dropping? And the others are like, yeah, also beyond that, do we all agree that membership dues all over the world, even before COVID, membership dues have never sustained associations to over 49%. 2023, that's where it even dropped. Right now, it's around 32 to 35%, of course, depending on regions. So that also hints us to like the sources. Where do associations, before getting to managing the funds, where do associations should look into getting their funds? Of course, the primary one has always been membership dues. An estimate of around 70% by 2024 from AFSI, the African Association, Society of Association membership. We are talking about 70%, almost all association, not only you from the, someone say that you're bullies. It's not only you, all association members. I wish you would know what happens in agriculture. So it's the same kind of chronic issue, but 70% membership cannot sustain up to over 50%. So if you look at, those metrics, it doesn't really see you getting to drawing a strategy and implementing it, a strategic plan. So now there brings it to a window of alternative sources from the projects that we do, from the partnership. Earlier when I started, I mentioned about when we are going to these global meetings, and there is always exhibition stands. I've been to Abu Dhabi when I was bidding for the pharmaceuticals events to bring it to Rwanda. But you know how pharmaceutical companies are really strong and big. But most of the interesting sessions, it's not, the plenaries. It's into the exhibitions. What are you doing? How can we work together? So have you gone with that at least kind of motive beyond your colorful presentations? I so much hate presentations. I have a PowerPoint and I will leave it here for your association because I would present it for over a week. But exchanging. After all, what I'm talking about you have even better. I love lecturers. They would, especially lecturing experienced people, they come preach. Oh, but you know better where things really are failing. He mentioned about leadership, and I underlined it with the stars. But again, remember, most of you, or most of board members and leaders, are volunteers. So when you convert it into the reality of financial management, when you're managing a vacuum, that's where you have to turn the wheel and twist it to what are the sources of finances, how can we get there, and then align it to your annual strategic plan. Of course, as I mentioned, our membership numbers are like dropping, and we don't know why, or we've lost, grant, and now we cannot pay the secretariat. It's not all about fundraising problems or membership problems. It's all about strategy. It's a strategic problem. So, a reflection again. What finances do you have? I don't want the amount, but what finances do we even? Has there been any year when we have enough of the finances to manage, when we have enough to pay our bookkeepers, accountants, and so on? That's why I said I'm not going to go into this PowerPoint, but let us look at the strategic plan, align it with the, of course, from strategy, of course, you have that translates into that vision where the Professional Association of Surgeons wants to achieve, from capacity building, from knowledge exchange, from visibility, from projects. So I mentioned about projects. How many projects do you run in a year that are out of that are association focused, like a project, say an events project? Melon mentioned about, reaching out to them and working with, the Uganda Convention Bureau. If you have any, how have you really streamlined it into, I have a background of, I told you I'm an economist and also to tourism professional, but very much into livelihoods and income generating. So how have you planned your event and made sure that you, from break evening, at least you have a surplus to go into your coffers, even if it's 3% to 10% of a surplus above break evening. So that means, brings us to that exciting pavement of, if these wonderful associations of professionals has had, say, an annual event, how have we planned? How have we involved? The medical profession has a bigger ecosystem. I mentioned about manufacturers of, the gadgets, the devices, the suppliers in transportation, the code infrastructure, and so on. But how do you engage them into your projects that at least when they are coming, they are not only bigger sponsors, but they are introduced to your action plan, that they become recurrent sponsors? And two, from recurrent sponsors, we have domestic, but a similar event at an international level or a regional level. I gave you an example where I've supported the Dr. Eugene's of Rwanda in Coexa. Some of you might be knowing, some of your colleagues are around. But how have you, shared knowledge and had farm trips over there to see what they are doing? I know you're busy professionals. I used to think that part-timing used to be mostly in academics, but I think that one also in the medical sector is acceptable, and that's how we live. But how do, in those exchanges, and these days it can even be virtual, how do you build those synergies, the partnerships and collaborations? I'm not talking anything at all about financial management, because the constraint, everyone is constrained about financial management. But how do you make your coffers at least have a reserve? And if I would go into, much as I'm prompted, I feel like prompted to go into slides, but I mentioned about projects, I mentioned about collaboration, but also I mentioned about grants. Whenever you're an established association with a structure, with a clear mandate, with a, there is another bit we always forget. Volunteerism is key, or the corporate responsibility, of which us as civil societies or associations really should not always forget. if once in a while you can organize maybe a week, a dental surgeon's week of giving free service. I do believe that projects, yes, these days traditionally we used to have USAID in Kenya. I'm based in Kenya. In Kenya, currently I'm based in Kenya, but Kenya and Rwanda, the associations over there before USAID closed used to benefit a lot whenever they used to do some volunteer or community service to, you know, those low income earners, that at least they can get free service. So that one would leave some finances in their coffers and also access to grant, which grant will be, you know, when you have a grant of finances, that's when financial management starts to come in, and of course reflecting to the action plans. So yeah, from the projects, to the time allocated to us, I think a minute or two over, but I will leave the slides with me. Also, oh sure. As he tries to, you know, get on the slides. So where I wanted to get ourselves to in financial management, I think there is a lot to share, not to learn, because you have more experience. Each associations, yes, there is a commonality of issues from, you know, we saw a primary source of finances as membership, but again, this membership, and sometimes membership is one of the most challenging or elastic or more sensitive and or fragile factor. Mostly members, when they leave, it's not because of dues. It's because they don't see the value for membership. It's because they feel disconnected. It's because they don't feel like learning much or more. I don't know which slide I am, because if I was to go through slides, I would, you know, take you into a lot, but that's my parting shot, where we like do believe all that every membership association, the members, the professionals create it, believing that they can, you know, achieve a lot together more than working in silos. And indeed, that's true. From, you know, the law of large numbers, but now the law of, you know, bigger brains experience. But again, you know, when you're talking about three major committees to look into, as of now, as the, you know, to make your association get stronger, you know, review your membership journey. Where did we start? And where are we? What have been the uphills and the low, you know, the oscillations, how sharp have they been in different, you know, periods of time, years, and so on. And then try to look for alternative sources of how you can really empower your associations financially. And of course, I'm talking about diversification of a new revenue stream, and maybe 1 to 3 months this quarter, Is it feasible? Of course, this is not a blueprint for everyone or a formula. It's not a Pythagoras formula that everyone would lead you to this. And then also draw further and bigger. In the next 3 months, what are we looking forward at, achieving, or what would be the targets to prioritize for our next maybe board resolution? I would welcome or bring in more interactions and specific examples when an opportunity for a Q&A comes in, but still you can be one of the bigger contributors of bringing or contributing to the Uganda Convention Bureau's target of 212 meetings this year. In Rwanda, the $94 million, slightly over $94 million US dollars we have received from MICE, the 40 associations in Rwanda have proactively contributed to that. And it's not because they are bigger than you. No, it's about organization and having a vision, of course, working together. And guess what? It's not like every practitioner or every professional in this field has been proactive, but there are a few ringleaders. I believe if you would bring, dental surgeons or in your profession, I believe you would go to Nambole. You want fit. I mean, regarding the numbers, but you're the ringleaders, you're the inspirations. So keep going, and given time or chance, we'll work with the Convention Bureau to see that we can have really more sessions with more numbers on how we can, take a deeper delve into association financial management, resource mobilizations. I mentioned about volunteerism, for instance. If I would give also this chance, I'm in charge of a UN campaign for volunteerism, which I do also voluntarily in 23 countries across East and Southern Africa. It's called the International Volunteer Year. So I'm happy if you have any international meetings you're hosting between now and November, because that's when the campaign ends. I'm happy to create visibility to the World Health Organization and these other UN agencies in the health-related sector or pharmacists to just make sure that they open avenues for partnerships. That's what I'm happy to bid and push for that. And feel free to reach out through mail. Recently, I was with the Right Honorable, your Prime Minister, Nabancha, at the African Union and the head of the United Economic Commission for Africa. We are launching this in Addis. And when we had a chat with him, it was like, yeah, we have professionals really who can, benefit of this campaign of the International Volunteer Year. So that was the last announcement I would be happy to make to you. Otherwise, resource mobilization itself would take us a week. And that's theory. Practice belongs to you in reality. And financial management, the same. But again, before you manage your finances, what finances? You cannot manage vacuum. That is a reality. Thank you so much for your attention.